continuation from lesson number 1 that we did in last class. Review and preview. So what we looked at in the last class is we looked at the idea of a sample and a population. So a population is everything that belongs to that particular data group. A sample would be choosing a portion of it. So for example, if I'm holding an election in Alberta in the upcoming months, the population of my voters would be every eligible person from the age of 18 up that qualifies to vote. From there, I could choose a sample to maybe pull to ask who are you going to vote for in the next election, because I wouldn't be able to ask everyone. It would be too costly and too time consuming. When we get the information from those types of polls, from those surveys, I can arrange the data in a certain way. I can calculate the mean of the data. That's called the average, and that's what we're used to typically doing. If you're figuring out the average on your tests, if you had 5 tests in math class, you would add all 5 tests together, divide by 5, and that would give you your overall average. The median is the one that's in the middle. So I put them in numerical order, and I find that middle value, that becomes my median. And sometimes that helps if I have those outliers. So let's say again, if I go back to my example with my tests, suppose in my 5 tests I bombed one of them. I got like 30%, but everything else I got like 70, 80. I might find that the median is a better representation because that outlier, when I try to calculate the average, is going to skew the results. And then there's the mode. The mode is what happens most often. It occurs most frequently. You can have multiple modes and you can have no modes. So nothing might repeat, or you could have 2 or 3 things that repeat multiple times. So last class, we calculated these out by ourselves. We calculated them out pen and paper. Your calculator has the ability to calculate measures of central tendency using the stat feature. So on these pages, it goes through, so this is page 202 in your book, it goes through step by step how to use the graphing calculator to find out these measures of central tendency. So if we use this as our data value, we grab our calculator, make sure it gets turned on, and what we do is we press stat and first of all, we press stat and edit. And if we press stat and edit, we get these lists. If I happen to have numbers in this list, so let's say when I looked at this, this is what my lists look like. Something like that. Doesn't matter what numbers were in. Let's just say there were numbers in there. I can clear those lists one of 2 ways. I can go up to the top, highlight the list, and then press clear, not delete. Delete gets rid of the list. I just want to clear the list. Clear, enter. It clears the list. Or what I could do is I could press the second button, the plus button, and right here, choice number 4, clear all lists, and then press enter. So I could clear the list one of 2 ways, so that when I press stat and edit, I no longer have anything in my list. Now I can type in these numbers. And I type them in. It doesn't matter the order I type them in, but if you notice 14 appears twice, I need to put it in there twice. So I have 10, 9, 8, 7, 14, 14, 13, 5, 11, and 16. There's my list. So from here I can go back to my main screen. So I go second and mode, which is the quit above, and I get back to my main screen where I had cleared my list from before. So now the next part is, let's say I want to get some of these measures of central tendency. Well, I press the stat button again, only this time I don't want to edit the lists. I want to do calculations with the list. And the calculation that I want to do is a 1-var stat, 1 variation stat. Now, depending on your calculator may come up with 2 different screens. So if you look in the book, the calculator that they, or the screen that they come up with just has one bar stat, and then the cursor goes at the end. The calculator that I have has the lists in it. List L1, I don't have a frequency list. I would leave that blank, and then I would just go down to calculate. Where you are at here, if you press enter, this screen should come up no matter what, and it should look the same as mine. There's a lot of information on this screen. Some of it we will use, some of it we will not use. The first thing on that screen is that X with that line over it. And if you remember from the last class when we were talking about average or talking about mean, we said we could indicate mean with either that funny looking U or that X with the line on top of it. This is the mean. This is the mean of the data that I've put into the calculator. X, or 10.7. Then to find the median, I have to scroll down till I see the word MED. So this right here, N, this tells me how many numbers were in the data set. The minimum data was 5. The median was 10.5. And the max was 16. So this part of the screen tells me the smallest number, the biggest number, and where the middle lie, which was 10.5. And then the mode is not something the calculator calculates. It does not calculate the mode. I would have to look for the mode myself. So if we scroll to the bottom of the page, state the mean, median, and mode for the data in the above. The mean was this value right here, 10.7. The median was the MED, which was 10.5. And the mode, I have to go back to the data set and figure out which one appeared more than once. That was 14. So there's my mean, median, and mode. The next calculator entry looks at frequency tables. So the frequency table was like that touchdown example that we had done the last class, where we recorded the number of games that he had: 0 touchdowns, 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. So again, I can do the exact same thing. Only when I put this into my calculator this time, so I press Stat, Edit, I'm going to clear this list off. So clear and enter. And then what I'm going to do is the number of touchdowns per game is going to go into my L1. And the frequency is the number of times each of those items occurred. That's going to go into my L2. I'm going to start off with my L1. 0, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm going to scroll over to my L2, where I have 3, 7, 7, and 2. Now I need to do my calculations. So I don't actually have to quit. I can just press Stat and go over to Calc. It's still a 1 vars, always a 1 vars. This time, when you put it into your list, so if your calculator is like mine, you're going to go L1. The frequency list, you're going to go L2. And to get L2 on your calculator, you go second and the 2 button. Everything in blue I access by pressing the second button first. So on your calculator screens, most of you will probably have 1 var stat. And then you have to press L1, comma, L2. So the way that looks, L1 would be second and the number 1. The comma button is right between the x squared and the open bracket. And then L2. So you're going to have it written as 1 var stat L1, L2. This tells the calculator to put this information together, that there are 3 of the zeros, 7 of the 1s, 7 of the 2s, and 2 of the 3s. And then I'm going to calculate. And there's course, where my calculator stands. There are 19 items in my list, which 3 plus 7 plus 7 plus 2 equals 19. The mean is 1.4210. That's what we got last time. The median is 1, and that's what we got last time as well. So it's another way of calculating using the calculator to find this information out for you. Again, the calculator does not calculate mode, but we can pull mode from my frequency list, the ones that occurred most often. So the mean, the median, and the mode. The mode was 1 and 2. The median was 1. And the mean was 1.4, which is exactly what we got last time. So what I want you to work on for about the next 10 or 15 minutes is I want you to use your calculator, and I want you to look at questions number 7 through 11 using your calculator to do those questions, and then you'll go on to the next lesson.